So we're going to be unpacking a little bit about what happened in that initial consultation with Kevin and Shelley here. And what we're going to be unpacking specifically is what happened in our role modeling. So if you haven't seen the role modeling yet, there's a link in the description here, and you can watch that. That's what we'll be addressing, yeah?
Yeah.
A really interesting case here because Kevin came in what we call pre-contemplative. He really didn't believe he had a problem,
Yeah.
which makes it a little bit of a challenge for Shelley here, but I thought you handled it really well.
Yeah, I was definitely, dealing with someone that really felt like, from the way you presented, and, we didn't really pre-plan for this. We just kind of roll with it in the role playing. And, so I'm dealing with, a man who his wife and kids have left the house. He has a bunch of good buddies that he likes to spend time with in the evenings, after a long day at work, and, goes out and has a few beers and has a good time, and really has no awareness that his wife is really getting quite upset about this whole situation.
It's a role I've played before.
Yeah. But we won't talk about that. But, he was just playing himself. So, there is that element of, also that there was a DUI. He's at risk of potentially losing his license, in the role play. So, and if he lost his license, there would be, a loss of income. So looking at that, this is initial consultation. This is what he's told me, as to the picture of where he's at right now. And so my primary goal in this initial consultation is to meet him exactly as he is. I'm not going to, in a 30-minute or 20 or 30-minute consult call, I'm not going to affect change. But what I do want to do is affirm him. He's a family man. He does want to get his wife and kids back. He does care about, his life, his job, his work, his buddies. So I'm looking at, what are the positive things about this fella, and want to meet him exactly as he is.
Interesting part about that was that, for most common thinking people, the answers are really clear about what Kevin, the drinker, should be doing. Like, just stop. Your life is burning up. Just stop. But as a good recovery coach, you didn't do that. I mean, he's probably had people telling him what to do 8 ways from Sunday. You were taking a new approach, which would have been really attractive for Kevin because he hadn't heard an approach like that before. So it may have felt glacially slow, but it was the best pristine way to do it. And just by asking good questions, finding what his goals are, finding what really has meaning for Kevin, I think that you really laid down the groundwork for what was going to be a pretty excellent row of sessions together.
Yeah, and he had some great questions for me as well in terms of, is this going to be, confidential? Would you be able to write a letter for me for my lawyer? Maybe that could help me with my DUI situation. And actually in the session came up with his own ideas of what he saw as a possible solution for the situation that he finds himself in. So, okay, great. Let's work with that. Even though he's pre-contemplative.
Even though it was Kevin's, even though it was, I think, even in the role playing of that, I found it was like, oh my God, how am I going to limit it to 3 or 4 drinks a night? How could I get around that now? Because it was my idea. So I'm stuck, right?
Right, because you came up with it. It wasn't something I imposed on you that you had to fight me for.
It was my idea.
Your idea. So
now I'm jammed because it's nothing that anybody was foisting upon me. It was my own darn idea. So I'm kind of stuck.
Yeah. And it's one of those great pieces. I often think of, when kids are allowed to help with cooking. You know, they want to put the ingredients in, and they want to choose the ingredients and do the stirring and the mixing and the putting it in the oven and all of that. And when they have the chance to do that, then they're going to eat what they just made, right? And I think similarly, I know it's kind of a funny example, but just thinking about, like, you want to be able to have a say in your life and what it looks like, right? So as a recovery coach, I want to unpack that with you.
And Shelley did a beautiful job of sort of reaching into sort of, with good questioning, reaching into the deep recesses of my mind here and sort of just like imagining or acknowledging what might be not so much a problem, but might be sort of not working really well in his life. And, you know, shining a light on that so that I thought, you know what, maybe I do have to do something. Yeah, I do have a DUI. Yep, I, like, the partner and kids have packed up and left the house. Like, I'm in a house alone and in threat of losing my license and my career.
Yeah.
Maybe I might want to change direction here a little bit. And you tapped into that really nicely, because it didn't even really feel like I was being diverted at all. It was just like a light was shone on something that I might need to look at.
Right. And, you know, in that initial consultation, my number one, I guess, priority is to meet him as he is, establish that relationship, that trust, that respect, that deep care, that here's somebody, you know, an individual that has been going through some stuff. Sounds like he's got a lot of stress at work. Had, as he described it, a wife that's nagging him, and, you know, probably not feeling like, you know, an A player, you know, so, and drowning some of that out with alcohol, you know. And
one of the other things you did, though, is one of the things that you as a coach, I love that you do, is that you stopped and acknowledged how important this phone call was. That what a huge deal this was. You actually reached out and said, I think I need some help here.
Yeah.
And it is a huge deal. So, and I love the fact that you stop and acknowledge that.
Right.
It's, you feel it.
I could have done that earlier in the call. And I'm not sure, normally I do that right in the, you know, early portion of the call.
Well, no, in your defense, because he was so stuck in his pre-contemplative, I don't have a problem, there was no, wow, look at you reaching out for help, because he wasn't really, he's just going, I'm in a jam, like, help me out here, throw me a life ring, because you know, but there was no real celebration there that he was going, I got to change my life. He was still, I don't have a problem, what's she whining about?
Right. Yeah.
So I thought you parked it beautifully in there.
Yeah. Oh, well, there you go. Okay. Yeah. So maybe I did solve it all in 30 minutes.
So, yeah, no, it wasn't solved all, but what you did is you laid down a beautiful groundwork of what a recovery coach's role, by demonstrating it, recovery coach's role is, and laid out the framework of what that relationship would look like going forward.
Yes.
Which is exactly what somebody, and we get these cold calls all the time.
Yeah.
People calling up going, I think I might need help. And just laying down that groundwork so gently, like holding space for them to express their experience.
Yeah.
Is.
I look at it as an opportunity to be, you know, that one person, you know, that one person that isn't going to get on their back, nag, give them advice, tell them what they need to do. You know, just like, I want to be that person that says, okay, so this is where you're at. And, you know, I still see the good in you. I still see that family man. I still see that man that wants to do more, be more, have more, and that is trying. Look at you, you're trying. You're trying something new that's big and scary, and you're willing to put in the work to do it, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's what I want to look at, is to...
And I know some people watching the video would be going, what do you mean you don't have a problem? Just look at your life. What do you mean you don't have a problem? Go to a meeting, do something.
Yeah.
So, but the fact that, you know, it was almost felt sort of that kind of like, I could feel people going, why isn't she like telling him to do something? Because you're a coach.
Well, and that's the human inclination, right?
Yeah.
You know, and certainly as a new coach was something that I had to really quiet that that advice giver, that person that wanted to rush in and fix and, you know, tell what you do.
Do you still find she beaks off in the back of your head? The advice giver?
Well, sure. It's, you know, I am still human, right?
Yeah.
But the difference is that, you know, I'm able to recognize when that happens.
Yeah.
I'm able to put that aside, come back. You know, we're going to be talking soon about, you know, mindfulness and coaching. And we talk about managing our own stuff. As a coach, I want to be aware when I might have a bias, when I might have something that comes up in conversation, and just go, okay, yeah, that's my stuff. I'm going to park that over here for the moment, and I'm going to go back to, you know, what is this individual telling me about their life, and what can we do here together? How can we collaborate to, you know, to improve things, right? Always, I want them to be in the driver's seat, right? I'm just here as, you know, a co-pilot. Like you've got the reins. Boy, we have a lot of vehicles here. We have the reins, co-pilot,
planes, trains, and automobiles.
We got it all going on, and a couple of horses too. That was awesome. Yeah, I also wanted to talk about one element of what I had talked about with how I might best support Kevin as he moved forward was around the idea of, okay, how often are we going to meet? And for me, the way I handle it as a recovery coach is I really offer that client-centered approach, meaning how often do you need to meet? How often would best support you? And if around the texting, I think that's something that people may or may not want to offer. I found it to be really impactful, like just even a little text. I might even initiate that text just saying, hey, how's it going today? And then get a little bit of an answer back. And then, you know, but if it does get to be more like, wow, there's more happening here, okay, we need to get on a phone call because that, you know, maybe needs to be unpacked right away today and within a phone call. So I'm not fishing for a phone call. I'm really just using texting as a value add. However, I also want to have some boundaries around it so that it's, you know, it's not going to be taking up 2 hours of my time trying to work through a problem over text, right?
Another thing that we didn't do that I know that you love to do, that you make sure that you do it, is you lock in that next meeting.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when are we gonna? What works best for you? What day can we connect again?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's actually something that I could have done in the role play was, okay, so when are we going to meet next?
Yeah.
What's our next date on the calendar, and let's roll with that, right?
Yeah.
So yeah.
It's one of those things that new coaches sometimes don't do, and they wonder why they never hear from them again. It's just get that next call in so that you're.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and honestly, in an initial consultation, we don't have, you know, a working agreement. We don't have, you know, there's been no discussion of payment and so on. All of those things would also need to be addressed. But in this initial one, we're just establishing relationship. And I would likely get his, you know, email address. I would let him know I'm going to be sending you, you know, if this
Intake
feels like
form,
something
invoice.
that you want to go through, we'd send off an intake form, we'd provide an invoice, and as well as a letter of engagement, so for services. So, you know, there's a few other little things in there too that I might have added in, but most important part is the relationship, right? Yeah.
In the next video, we're going to look at the most important part of a recovery coaching session. That's the 10 minutes before it starts.
Yeah.